Hello everybody, welcome to join us for this Twinmotion live presentation. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tian Xiao. I'm Twinmotion Community Manager. I'm with Twinmotion product manager Martin now. He's our main presenter of this demonstration on live.
Hi everyone.
Hi Martin. Our presentation will be in 3 parts. First of all, I'm going to do a short introduction of what is Twinmotion and tell you some strong points working with Twinmotion. After that, Martin will bring you inside Twinmotion and present to you all the key features that Twinmotion 2019 has to offer. And of course, he's also going to show you the new feature in the latest patch we just released a few weeks ago. And at the end of the webinar, we will do a live question and answer on YouTube, of course. So if you have any questions during the presentation, just note it somewhere, and we're going to answer them all at the end. So let's get started. What is Twinmotion? If you don't know it yet, Twinmotion is a 3D real-time visualization software specially designed for architects, designers, and all the other building professionals. When I'm talking about real-time, some of you may have already working with a real-time solution, some may not, so I'm going to explain you what it is. I have 2 examples for you. First one is here, 2 images. On the left side, you have an image, traditional rendering software, very good quality, calculated using a ray tracing software, rendering software. So the rendering time is 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. On the right hand, you have an image in Twinmotion. And not only this is a rendering image in Twinmotion, which took me about 0.2 seconds, I also have this quality constantly in the viewport while I'm working in Twinmotion. If this I didn't explain well, I can give you another example. Here is another example, 2 images. On the left side, you have an image calculated in 2K in a ray tracing software. It took about 1 hour and a half again. And on the other hand, you have Twinmotion calculated in 2K in less than 1 second. And of course, I work constantly with this quality, which means I don't need to wait anymore for rendering software, the ray tracing software to see the final result. Whenever I change a material, I add a light, I change some parameters, I can see the result instantly in front of me, all in real time. Another strong point working with Twinmotion is that Twinmotion is very easy to learn software. It's not only fast, and it's also very easy to learn. You can see this through the intuitive interface of Twinmotion. We have a very easy to understand interface that for new beginner, they launch Twinmotion and play with it, play around with it for about 2 hours. They can already export images and animations without spending days to learn the software. Finally, another strong point I like to introduce you is the easy workflow to bring a BIM model inside Twinmotion and then turn it into a VR experience. Thanks to a feature, we call it the add-in, which is a direct link between BIM software ArchiCAD and Revit and Twinmotion. With this add-in, it allows you to, in one single click, bring your BIM model in one click in Twinmotion, and inside Twinmotion in another one single click to activate the VR mode and start to immerse yourself in your BIM design. So this kind of workflow is quite complicated before with the traditional rendering software, and today with Twinmotion we'll make it very easy to achieve. So I finished my part of introduction. Now I give the word to Martin. He's going to show you inside Twinmotion all the key features.
Thank you, Tianxiao. So let's now switch into Twinmotion. She was talking about the add-in and the synchronization. So here I am in Twinmotion just after the synchronization process. During this synchronization, we do a few things. We first import the 3D, we first import the geometry of the project, like we see in the middle of my screen here, but then we do a few things automatically. In ArchiCAD and Revit, there is a native library of objects, for example, the vegetation. In those BIM software, those vegetation items are just a basic billboard, a basic geometry, basic plane with just the shape of a tree. During this synchronization, we automatically replace all those billboards by Twinmotion 3D animated trees. And we do also the same with the materials, the characters, and the vegetation. We do actually also the same with the terrain. The terrain was a topographic survey. We imported it into Twinmotion and now it reacts to the different terrain tools that we have inside the software. So for example, here if I now select my terrain, I have two different options at the bottom of my screen. I have the sculpt tool and the paint tool. Let's start with the sculpt tool. So here we have different tools that I can use to directly sculpt my terrain. We can start with the sculpt tool that will raise the geometry of my terrain. We can also dig some holes. We have plenty of different tools. Let me just maybe select the flatten tool that will just flatten the geometry at the same height. So as you can see, depending on the inclination of the geometry, different material apply automatically, like these rocks on my side here. But if I come back on my breadcrumb and now enter the paint tool, here I can paint also my material directly on my terrain. So let me just come a bit closer to my ground. I will select maybe this forest ground material and just paint this forest ground on my terrain. I can also paint some grass directly in just one single click. So now let's talk about vegetation. While most of those trees has been automatically replaced during this synchronization with the add-ins, I can also open Twinmotion library on the left and drag some tree directly from the library to my viewport. As you can see, to add one vegetation to my project, it's just one single drag and drop. If I want to place vegetation even more quickly, I can now enter the Nature dock on the bottom left, enter the vegetation option. I will select here my grass. I will just change the diameter of my brush and I can simply paint my grass directly on my terrain. Twinmotion library contains thousands of items, objects, material, vegetation assets, but you can also create your own. We'll talk about that in a moment. As you can see, this grass here is affected by the wind, same as the foliage on my tree. This is because in Twinmotion everything reacts to a whole ecosystem. So for example, I will now again come back in my breadcrumb and now enter the weather option. Here I have two sliders. The first one is controlling the cloud coverage, while the second one is controlling the seasons. So let me start with the second one over here. I will drag this slider here and we will switch from summer to autumn. In autumn, the leaves of my tree turn yellow, turn red, and leaves actually start to fall from the trees, as you can see here. Now, let's come to the first slider, which controls the cloud coverage. If I start to drag this slider here, cloud will appear, and at some point it will rain, which affects automatically all the material of the project. And now if I come back to my second slider, I will switch from autumn to winter. Temperature will get colder and the rain will turn into snow. As you can see also, all the material get overlaid by snow. The river here on the side just froze and the tree lost their leaves depending on their species. So let me just remove this weather here, come back to something a bit more cold, a bit more warm. So we already talked about the synchronization with ArchiCAD and Revit, but Twinmotion can also be used with any 3D modeling software. Here in the Import tab, I can import FBX, DAE, OBJ, C4D, SketchUp, native file format. So with any 3D modeling software, we find a file format that we support at the import. We already talked about the vegetation, the landscape. Maybe it's time to create right away an image. To create an image is fairly simple. I will come to the media section, image. I will click on the plus here. This will create a new image, a new point of view. I can of course move a bit my point of view, adjust it. I can resave my point of view. If I click on the more here, I will enter all the advanced settings of this specific image. Here I will have the camera setting option, the localization, the visual effect, etc. I just want to export this image right away. So I'll come to the export section. Here in the export section, I will select the image we just created together and I will click on Start Export. I will send this to my desktop. By default, Twinmotion export on a 2K resolution. It took me just a couple of seconds to render, and here on my desktop I have my image. So as I said, Twinmotion by default export on a 2K resolution, but you can go up to 8K resolution. So let me get out of this media mode, and now what I want to show you is what we call the beam motion mode, which is some kind of full screen viewer of the project. In this full screen mode, you can navigate in real time, like I'm doing here since the beginning of this presentation. I can also enable what we call the physics. So here I just put myself on the ground at the height of a human being. That means that I can really be immersed inside my project and visualize the view of the future user of the project. If I had some stairs in front of me, I will really climb those stairs. In this full screen mode, I have a few options, like here I can change the time of day. I can change the months to make sun study. I can even switch from pedestrian to the drone view, which allow me to take some height and visualize my project from different point of view. So now let me switch to the inside of my project. While I was in this full screen mode, I changed the time, but you can of course change the time directly in Twinmotion. So here we can visualize different lighting conditions. So when we designed Twinmotion, our main goal was really to create something simple. We used to know that there is plenty of rendering software on the market, and most of them take days, weeks, even months of learning completely the rendering software. The main idea behind Twinmotion was to create something simple, like a plug-and-play solution which allows you to be productive straight out of the box. So for us, that meant creating the most simple user interface we can. This UI contains three major panels. The first one on the left, it's the library, which, as I said, contains thousands, a bit more than 2,000 items. It contains materials created and dedicated for architecture. So for example, if I enter the wood folder, we'll have hundreds of wood materials. All those materials have a small thumbnail with a bigger preview on the right. Then we have all the vegetation items, the bush, trees, grass, rocks. We have furniture for both interior and exterior, lighting, omnidirectional spot, ERS file. You can also import your own ERS file. We have some characters in 3D, animals, vehicles. We also have what we call the user library, which allows you to create your own materials, import your own object and save them directly inside Twinmotion user library, and you can basically create your own library inside the software. So here I have just a couple of frames, a couple of decoration items that I have imported, and I just created my own hierarchy directly inside Twinmotion. So this is for the library. Then at the bottom of the screen we have what we call the dock. The dock is basically where you will find all the options, the tools and the settings. So actually, let me come back to my library and just drag, for example, a concrete material from the library to the viewport. First, as you can see, same as the vegetation, if I want to add material to my project, it's just a basic drag and drop, as simple as that. Now that I've applied this material to my project, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, my material is still selected. And here I have a few options to customize this material. First, for example, we can change the color of my material to make it a bit lighter, a bit darker. We can change the reflection, maybe it's not reflective at all, maybe it's fully reflective. And we have a few other options. Finally, the third most important panel is the one on the right, is what we call the scene organizer, the scene graph. It's basically a layer system that you can turn on and off. You can also create folder, create your own hierarchy. And also the project that you import, you also keep this hierarchy. So it's an easy and handful tool that allow you to create some phasing, for example, to show the different construction step of your project. While I am in this project, I will show you one of the latest features that we introduced inside Twinmotion is the beam object linked. So here I will enter the urban section, beam object. I will open the beam object catalog. And here directly inside Twinmotion, now you have access to thousands and thousands of beam objects. If I just to introduce this UI, we have a search bar where you can type whatever you want. Here we have different categories. So for example, if I enter the furniture folder, here you have plenty of different objects to just add more details to your project. If I want to select to add this object to my project, I will first select the object. I will click on Send to Twinmotion User Library. This will directly send the object to my user library. Now I can close this window and the object is also directly under my mouse, so I can just multi-drop this object wherever I want. Now that this object is inside my project, as you can see there is quite a lot of detail on this one. I can just use my material picker now to let's just customize this object. I can change the reflection on this red part over here. We can maybe add some metal material on this part over here. And now I can just pick whatever object I want just to add more life, to add more details to my project. So directly now in Twinmotion you have access to this full beam object catalog. And what also is important is that when you select the object, in the statistic panel, here I will switch to the beam information. Here I have access also to all the beam information of this object. And also all those beam information, so we retrieve all those beam information from the beam object, but also from Revit and ArchiCAD. If you import your object directly from Revit and ArchiCAD, the beam information of all of your object will be also listed here. So now for the next part, let me switch to another project, more urban project. This one was really mainly exterior, mainly nature project. Now I will switch to an urban project to show you a bit more how to create, to bring life to your pure project using the paths and all the characters that we have inside Twinmotion. So it takes a couple of seconds to load. It's quite a big project. It's located downtown Chicago. And here, as you can see, there is plenty of animation going on screen. So to show you how I created this, I will first start to remove all the existing animation. So here in the scene graph, we have also some kind of filter. So for example, here I will just select all my paths and I will just delete all of that. And now I will show you a bit how we created all those animations. Those animations start with the characters. If I want to add some characters, I will come to my library, go into the character folder, human, and here I can start to drag character one at a time, just like that. Once the character is inside the project, at the bottom of the screen I have a few options. I can change the color of the clothes, I can change the pose, maybe he's in idle state, maybe he's sitting, lying, or maybe he's even dancing. And even if I choose a pose, I can choose from a list of animation. Maybe he's in this animation, or maybe on this one, or this one, or this one. If I want to add characters more quickly, we also have some groups. So for example, if I select this group of 3 people, at each time I will click in the viewport, Twinmotion will randomize all the 3 characters that I added to the project, so I won't see any repetition. Now, if I want to add characters even more quickly, we also have what we call the path system. So if I want to create a path, I will come now to the urban section, path, character path. Here I will select my tool and I will just basically draw a line. Once I release my tool, character automatically start to walk all along my path. And here I have a few options. We can change the width of the path or the density of people on it. So as you can see, in just a couple of clicks, I've created a huge crowd directly in my project. We use the same system for vehicles. So if I come above my road, I will come back to my urban section, path, vehicle path, same ID. Here I will just basically create my spline. My spline can have whatever number of points I want. And here now I will just switch my path on three lane, and here we have access to the density of vehicles or the speed of the vehicles. So just to finish, I will create one last path on the other side of my road. Same thing, same ID, just create my line in just a couple of clicks. Switch to 3 lane, and here we go. I've populated this whole project with plenty of animation, from characters to car to people on the sidewalk. And again, at any moment, we can just visualize this project during daytime, or we can also switch to the night. And in the night, as you can see here, whoops, the light of my car automatically lights up, same for my light that I've placed inside my project, even same as my glow on all my buildings. So I think that's it for this quick introduction of Twinmotion 2019. Now I will put just on the background the Twinmotion 2019 trailer. And now with Tianxiao, we'll come to the chat panel and start answering all of your questions. So I see there is already a couple of questions. It's mainly about the webinar. If we can close the GoToWebinar link. So yes, it's possible. How to export file as .exe. To export a file, to export a .exe file, you just need to create a BeamMotion. To create a BeamMotion, in the media section, you can create 4 different types of media. So image, panorama, video, and the last one is BeamMotion. It's the exe file. So you just select that, and you come to the export section, and you export your exe file. Also, one thing that I didn't mention during this webinar is that at any time while you are working in Twinmotion, it's just one click to switch to VR. The shortcut is, let me remember the shortcut. It's F10. So just if you have your VR headset plugged in, it's just one click to switch to VR.
Okay. So we're going to pick some other questions. A question from Design Strategy. Can I export and import my user library?
What do you... so if you have some texture, for example, you can create your own material and you can save those material inside your user library. Same if you have some object, like for example, warehouse, SketchUp object, you can import those objects, furniture, and save them directly inside Twinmotion user library. And this user library is just a folder that you can share with whoever you want. Also, if you have a Twinmotion team version, this user library is shared around the network.
Another question from Captown. Hi there, can you load in a custom skybox file?
No, you can't natively do that. One of our users on the Twinmotion, on the Facebook Twinmotion user group, created some skybox where you can apply whatever texture you want. So if you want to do that, you can just check directly on the Twinmotion Facebook, the Twinmotion user group page on Facebook. There is a tutorial on how to change the skybox.
Okay, another question. How can I add this building that illuminate at night too?
So those building was It's not natively inside Twinmotion. It was part of the project, so it was created in 3ds Max with just a texture, and when you select the material, there is an option which is day-night cycle, and basically, if you check this option, the material will start to glow once the sun comes down. So you need to create a glow map. Actually, there is a tutorial on how to create materials and how to use materials properly inside Twinmotion. So you can go to the Twinmotion blog. There is an article, yes. There is an article talking about how to create material and how all those options are working.
Okay, let's see. There are many questions. A question from Monica: How to do the live connection with ArchiCAD?
So when you download Twinmotion, you first need to download the Twinmotion product manager. It's directly from Twinmotion website. You start to download this product manager, and from here at the bottom of the screen there is two options. There is the Revit add-in and the ArchiCAD add-in. If you have ArchiCAD installed and you select install the ArchiCAD add-in, it will install this add-in directly inside your ArchiCAD software. And directly from ArchiCAD, you will have a Twinmotion tab at the bottom of the screen. You click here and you click on Synchronize to Twinmotion. This will just import your project directly without the export-import workflow you usually have with all other rendering software.
Okay, next question: Is this license perpetual or annual subscription?
So it's a perpetual license, so once you buy it, you have it for life. No annual subscription.
Yeah. Can I export Twinmotion library to Max?
No, you can't. All the Twinmotion items are fixed. This is our own items. You can't export them out of Twinmotion.
Okay, another question: Can you have a Can you have a link Revit model where the model will update in real time?
So it's not a really live link. It's because you still have to one click to synchronize again. So it's not fully real time. But we have the link, the dynamic link with Revit. So it's just one click to synchronize the project from Revit to Twinmotion. Then, of course, you keep working on your model and you just update the changes as you are working on your project, and everything you have set up in Twinmotion won't be lost. Just the new part of your project will be updated inside Twinmotion. So it's not a live link. You still have to one click manually when you want to update the changes. But of course, if you just, for example, change the width of a wall, it won't reload the whole project. It will just reload this specific wall. So updating your model is done really quickly.
Another question: Can I install plugin for both Revit and ArchiCAD?
Yes, of course. It's two different installation files, so yes, of course.
Yes, you just need to go to the download page of Twinmotion, you download the product manager, and inside product manager you can download both Revit and ArchiCAD plugin. Can we have lights projecting image or video instead of color?
Not right now. Right now it's not possible. It might be in the future. I can't tell right now, but yeah, right now it's not possible.
Next question: Does my client need this plugin to view the model if I do the model in 3ds Max?
So you were talking about this plugin with ArchiCAD and Revit. I don't know really what is the question. If you are doing the model inside 3ds Max, you can just import your model inside Twinmotion with the FBX. So usually most of my project was created in 3ds Max, like the last one we saw with all the building was created in 3ds Max. I've just exported as a FBX and imported inside Twinmotion. The plugin is when you want to synchronize your Revit or your ArchiCAD file in Twinmotion and visualize it straight away.
A question from Matthew. After adding all these reflections and assets, will the VR quality be affected, which it will drop frame rate?
So working with VR is you have to know a bit of the basics when you are working in VR. For example, Twinmotion can handle millions of polygons, but not thousands of objects. So the first thing, when you know that you want to create a VR experience at the end, you really need to optimize your project, you optimize your file. For example, you don't need to have all the screws, all the really small piece of item that you don't even see in the viewport. For example, in most BIM project, there is the toilet and all the tube where the water flows. Sorry, I forget the word. But all those type of items that are always hidden from the project, you don't see them if you want to create a VR experience. So remove all those assets, optimize your file. Then everything that you are adding in Twinmotion is already also optimized. So if you are adding, for example, one tree and you duplicate this tree, it will not take more performances. Only one tree will be called in the back. So it's really a matter of optimizing the core, the source data, and what is the maximum mesh count? It also depends on how it is optimized. I've been working on project more than 300 million polygons. I was running at 30 frames per second, so it was not meant for VR, but it was running really smoothly in my viewport while I was working. So it depends on what you want to do.
Okay. Continue with the question from Matthew. Is Rhino supported?
Yes, it's supported. I don't remember which is the best file format. I think
it's the FBX.
It's the FBX as well. Yeah, I was thinking of that. So yeah, probably if Rhino can export FBX, it's the best file directly from Rhino.
Okay, so can I import point cloud?
So point cloud, if it's a terrain like a topographic survey, those kind of files you can import them and you can convert them in a Twinmotion terrain. But all other point cloud file, you will need to convert them as a geometry using another software, and then you import your geometry in Twinmotion, same as you import any other kind of object.
Okay, a message from Jonathan. Great presentation, thank you. Thank you too, Jonathan. And which VR system do you recommend?
So Twinmotion is compatible with the Vive Pro, the Oculus, the mixed reality headset. So all those ones are working great. I personally prefer the HP mixed reality because it doesn't require the two sensors that all the other headset needs. And I'm often traveling. I'm often going to see clients, and it's way faster to set up. You just put on your laptop, you plug the headset, and it's working. You don't need 1 hour to set up everything. And if you just tap, you just move one sensor. You have to recreate the whole setup. So. Yeah, the HP mixed reality is working really great, and I had a really great experience with this one.
And about the HP VR, just want to add one point. We wrote a blog article about our test with HP VR headsets. So if you go to our blog page, you can find this article. And if you already use Oculus or HTC Vive, you can find tutorials of setup on YouTube. Just tap Twinmotion Oculus or Twinmotion HTC Vive, you can find the tutorial. Another question from Lucas. Which system specification is recommended in Windows?
So Twinmotion uses mostly the graphic card, so you just need a good GPU. During this demo, I was running on a Quadro P5000, which is a really good graphic card, but you don't require a Quadro professional type of card. The GTX gaming series is also perfect and it's way cheaper. And also all the CAD software is also working really great with a gaming graphic card. So yeah, just a good graphic card will be the best. We use also a bit the RAM during the import with big projects, with big datasets. So yeah, a bit of RAM and mostly a good graphic card.
Question from Francisco. Hi, have you ever tried to import a file from from Z? Sorry.
Yeah, from Z.
Thank you.
So no, we never tried. In Twinmotion we can import plenty of file formats. So let me tell you the list. So FBX, ASCII, OBJ, C4D, 3ds DIE, DXF, and that's it. So if this or software can export one of these formats, you can import inside Twinmotion.
Another question. Which one? Okay. Do you want to implement more control in painting tools, scale, density of specific elements?
So yeah, we have some plan to enhance the paint tool. This was just the first version of this tool. So yes, I can't tell you what is planned and when we will have it, but we already have some plan to enhance the possibility and the option with the paint tool.
Okay, next question. Can I create the model, let's say a flat, on Twinmotion itself or needed to export it from CAD?
Can I create the model, let's say a flat, on Twinmotion itself? So Twinmotion is really a visualization tool. It's not a modeling tool. So you still need your CAD software to create the 3D, to model the building. Then you import your building in Twinmotion, and from there you start to add the materials, add the vegetation, add the people, create some render. But you don't create geometry directly inside Twinmotion.
Next question from Modena Captown. If you want a specific character to walk along the path, is there a way to do that? I create a custom path, but the character does not have the walking effect.
Not right now. It's not possible right now. The only way to animate character right now is with the character path system, which is like a crowd tool, a crowd creation tool. You can't create setup of specific character right now. It's something planned for the future.
Next question. Would Twinmotion support the future RTX ray-traced based GPU?
Yes, of course. So Twinmotion used the Unreal Engine. Most of you probably never heard about, but the Unreal Engine is one of the most powerful real-time rendering engine on the market, and Twinmotion uses it to power up the display. And as soon as the Unreal will enable the RTX technology inside the Unreal, we'll also implement that inside Twinmotion. So we are still waiting for them to put that in the Unreal, but it will be at some point be part of Twinmotion.
Okay, how about eGPU on Mac?
So it's working great. I think we have an article on our blog.
We wrote an article on our blog. We've tested an eGPU with the MacBook Pro 2017 with the eGPU. I can't remember which card.
But
yeah. you can find the article. We tested it and it works fine. You can find all the testing results about rendering time, about on video, images, etc. We have tested a series of tests. So yeah, it works fine. Can you export your Twinmotion scene to FBXX formats?
No, it's not possible. Twinmotion create only a Twinmotion file. What we are currently working on is the possibility to open your Twinmotion file in Unreal and keep working on your project like this. So Twinmotion will not be at the end of the line in the whole visualization pipeline, but no, it won't be possible to export a FBX file.
Another question. I have a question on the beam object import. Does Twinmotion support all the objects on the beam object site, or just ones in the TMA format?
So we support all the 3D objects. On the beam object side, there is plenty of objects that are on 2D. There is also plenty of objects that are only dedicated to ArchiCAD, Revit, or other BIM software. So we can't take all those objects. But all the objects that are on FBX or ASCII or OBJ, I don't remember all the file format that is present on the beam object platform. But all the 3D objects present on this platform is available inside Twinmotion, and roughly it's 15,000 objects that we have access directly inside Twinmotion. So pretty huge set of objects.
The question from Matthew is network-based VR with having multiple VR users in one space supported?
Not right now. It's something we already talk about at the office. It's something that will be part of Twinmotion at some point, but not tomorrow. It's something that we have in mind. It's really great feature, and we saw an increase in the idea of collaboration and also collaborative VR. So it will be part of Twinmotion in the future, but not in the next version, for example.
Okay, is there any possibilities to making the vegetation to be more realistic?
So in the next version, we are currently reworking some part of the library, and the vegetation is a huge part of that. So in the next version, the vegetation will be way more realistic. So yeah, we are currently working on that. We know that there is plenty of users that already talk about ask us about that.
Okay, does Twinmotion support point cloud?
So I already answered this one. So no, if you want to import a point cloud file, you first need to convert it in a geometry, then you import your geometry inside Twinmotion.
Okay, do I get updates on the library every time they are updated?
I think you are talking about the beam object library. So every day there is new object inside the beam object library. So no, there is no update. You just open the beam object platform, the beam object option inside Twinmotion, and the latest object will be on the first page.
Does Twinmotion support Unreal Engine 4 datasmith format?
No, it doesn't. It's really, we don't use the datasmith, but as I said, we are working on a bridge between Twinmotion and Unreal, so you will be able to use Twinmotion as a quick prototyping tool and open your Twinmotion file in Unreal to keep working on your project.
Is there any plans to integrate additional libraries like the ones you can buy for Atlantis?
With every new version, we keep working and enhancing the library. We have hundreds, even more objects coming in the next version. But we don't have a link directly with the Atlantis website, for example. But we can import. You can open actually your Atlantis file in Twinmotion, so you can just place all your objects inside Atlantis, and you can open all those objects directly inside Twinmotion and save them directly inside your user library. So it's a bit long process, but you can retrieve all your Atlantis objects inside Twinmotion. It's possible, but it's not possible directly from, let's say, the Atlantis library to download these objects directly from Twinmotion.
Okay, next question. Is it possible to synchronize back materials and objects to ArchiCAD from Twinmotion?
No, right now it's a one-way process. So you send the data to Twinmotion, but you can't send it back to ArchiCAD. So yeah, right now it's not possible.
Okay, so can you create material ID channels on Twinmotion itself? It works on Lumion, and I remember correctly, it used to work on Twinmotion, but not anymore. Is it going to be added in the future?
So yes, it's going to be added in the future. We are currently working on that. Indeed, right now it's not in the version. It's a limitation of the Unreal Engine we are using to make all the render, but it's something that we are currently working on to overcome this issue. So it will be added in the future, indeed.
Okay, can we add background music when it comes to animation renderings?
So not right now. Not right now. All the sounds that you can add inside Twinmotion is only for when you are in real time or when you are in virtual reality. You can't export those sounds. It's something that it's an issue that we didn't find a way to fix right now. Same thing, we are using the Unreal, and it's a problem with the Unreal. It's something that we know that we want to have in the future, and something that is planned, but we don't know when it will be possible.
Okay. Could we use Unreal assets directly?
Not right now. Same as I said just earlier, the plan is to open the Twinmotion file in Unreal, but not the other way, because everything that you can create in Unreal is really great, but it's really complex, and we can't interface every option that you have inside Unreal inside Twinmotion. So Twinmotion will be a really complex software if we add all the options that you have inside Unreal. So the idea is you start with Twinmotion, then you switch to Unreal, and from there you have all the assets that Unreal offer.
Okay, a question from Anne-Sophie. When the weather turns to snow or winter, is it possible for the people to change clothes as the trees?
It's not the first time I've heard that. So it's also something planned. We wanted to do that for a long time. Same when it starts to rain, we want people to take out umbrellas. So it's planned. It will be in the future, but I can't tell you. It won't be in the next version. We have plenty of other stuff that always come on top on our to-do list, and it will be it is definitely a cool feature, but not one of the most important. So it's planned, but not for the next version.
Next question. Will updating my Revit file in Twinmotion lose the changes I've done in Twinmotion?
Of course not. Really, Twinmotion has been created and to be used at the early step of the visualization process. So if you start working on a project, you can straight away synchronize your project with Twinmotion and start to visualize it. Then, of course, you keep working on your 3D model, and you just update the changes as you go. Everything you have set up in Twinmotion won't be lost. For example, if you have set up just the interior of your project, then you start to work a bit more on the exterior. Everything in the interior won't be changed. You keep working on the exterior, you just update. Just the new modification, the new piece of the geometry will be added to Twinmotion.
Is sun and shadow system based on real-world coordinates, and can I change it?
Yes, so there is an option that is called the localization option, where you have some kind of Google map where you can precisely geolocalize your project and retrieve the correct position and orientation of the sun, so you can make a real sun study of your project. So you can place your project wherever you want, and you can have the correct position of the sun.
Okay, will I be able to watch Twinmotion Twinlinker in 3D real time and not only panorama view on Oculus Go in the future?
So the Oculus Go is like a Google Cardboard or Samsung Gear VR. It's not a powerful item. It doesn't have a good graphic card that can run Twinmotion in real time. To run Twinmotion, you need to have a good graphic card. This is why we use real VR, where you plug your VR headset on your laptop, on your workstation, where you have a good graphic card that calculate everything in real time. So no, you won't be able to do that with the Oculus Go. It's really a cheap item where you can only visualize basic images.
Yeah, you can do real VR with the Oculus Rift or HTC Vive and HP VR headset, but not with Oculus Go. Will VR works only with BeamMotion? Standalone is not possible.
So VR work in BeamMotion, but also in Twinmotion. So it works for both. So you can just start working inside Twinmotion. You import your data. You start applying few materials, characters, whatever. In just one click, you switch to VR. Then from VR, you can change the time, the weather. You can change the material in VR as well. And you can also export the exe file, the standalone viewer, and from there you can also switch to VR. So you can work with VR in either Twinmotion or either in BeamMotion.
Can we convert the top view to CAD file?
I don't really understand the question. So the top view that we have inside Twinmotion is really meant for like a placing tool. It's not meant for render. So you can create an image, but there is no shadow, and it's really not meant for render. So you can create an image, but you can also send this image to your CAD file if you want. But don't know if it was really the question.
After creating pedestrian paths, do people avoid objects like light poles?
No, not right now. There is no collision, so you just need to be a bit careful when you are creating the path. Same thing is a pedestrian path cross a vehicle path. The car won't avoid the character, so just need to be a bit careful when you are working on that.
Can you pack the whole project with interactivity and send it to the customer, or do you have to stay in the editor for changing material instead in real time?
So yes, can you pack the whole project? Yes, you can pack the whole project. We can create what we call an exe file, a standalone viewer of the project, which will open the project in full screen without all the editing tools that you have inside Twinmotion. In this full screen mode, we'll have a few options: changing the time, changing the weather, calling different point of view you have set up. You can also configure phase of your project. For example, construction phase, but also, let's say, if you want to show an interior to your project, you can have one interior with a set of furniture and one second interior with another set of furniture. So you'll be able to share your project with your customer like that with just this exe file.
Okay, a question from Samuel Lee. This is not a technical question, but was the dancing Gangnam Style? That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yes, it was definitely this dance.
Okay, next question. Can I do AR instead of VR in Twinmotion?
No, Twinmotion is only VR compatible right now.
when I apply mirror material inside the building, will I be able to see the outer environment?
I'm not sure what you meant about the outer environment, but when you apply a mirror material, what you need to add in front of the mirror is a reflection probe, so you will see what is behind the camera. So yeah, when you are using the mirror material, don't forget to place a reflection probe.
Can I make pedestrian paths for stairs, elevators?
Escalators. So the pedestrian always follow the geometry you are creating the path on. So if you add some stairs, the characters will climb the stairs. But right now the escalator is not really possible. The characters won't. You can't in Twinmotion. You can't make the characters walk. Then at some point they stop to walk and then they just move all along the escalators. This is not possible. But if you have some stairs, people will climb the stairs.
Hi, and thanks for the presentation. If I import an OBJ model with textures and modify texture in Twinmotion, will it remain modified if I import an update model sometime later? How Twinmotion resolve it?
So Twinmotion use the material ID. So if you, let's say you have imported your texture, your material with one texture. If you change this texture and replace by one other texture, the material still remain the same with the same ID. So if you update your project, we will keep the first material with the texture you have replaced.
Do I need to create a UVW unwrap when importing from 3ds Max?
It's best, but directly inside Twinmotion we can do a cubic UV mapping. So if you didn't create your unwrap inside Max, you can also force the unwrap inside Twinmotion, but as you can understand, the cubic mapping is not meant for every object. If it's just for example for the floor or for the walls, it will be fine, but if you have a curved object, it will be best to create the unwrap directly in your modeling software.
What is system configuration for high quality render?
The best graphic card you can afford. So Quadro P6000, perfect. GTX 1080 Ti, also perfect. So just a good graphic card. You can just type on Google GPU benchmark. You take one on the top of the list, and it will run like a charm.
Does the HP's Windows Mixed Reality headset work on Mac or only PC? Which VR system works on Mac?
I never tried the HP one, but for Mac we use Steam VR. So normally all the no. We use Steam. We use Steam for VR on Mac, and which it's the Vive. It's the
HTC Vive works on Mac.
Yeah, so the HTC Vive work on Mac. We already try it on the latest iMac Pro, and it worked great.
Yeah, the HP is Windows Mixed Reality, so of course it doesn't work on Mac.
Yeah.
Will I be able to save pictures as HDR to have more options in Photoshop? Are there any other plans for more export options?
Yes, there is plan for more option in export and like layers and mask on the image you are exporting. This is something planned in the future.
What takes you guys to go with the path of VR instead of AR?
First, how can I say that? AR is still a bit science fiction. We saw a lot of companies using VR, a lot of our clients using VR, but we don't. I think we have only talk with one people that is trying to go into AR. So AR is not really something that is present a lot in the market. Like really showing a 3D model in AR on a table. So we talk about a lot of our user, and VR was definitely the thing that was raising on top. So this is why we switched to VR.
Used to be able to export masks from Twinmotion for use in Photoshop. Can 2019 do this? Can 2019 version do this?
No, as I said, I already said that 3 or 4 times today, but no, right now you can't export a layer or mask, but it's something planned for the future. No problem for the double question.
Is 3ds Max Direct plugin available for Twinmotion?
Not right now. Not right now. Right now we only have add-in for ArchiCAD and Revit. We will have more in the future. We want to stabilize those two, but we will add more add-in in the future, definitely.
Okay, so we're running out of questions, and the webinar lasts 1 hour. I think it's time to end the webinar. And thank you again for everybody joining us. Yeah. Twinmotion have a very active Facebook group on Facebook, so join us there, and Martin and I are there too to answer questions and share renderings. So it's a good community, very active. Don't hesitate to join us. We are also on Twitter, also on LinkedIn, etc. And Twinmotion have a 20-day free trial version, so don't hesitate to download it and try it by yourself. It works both on Mac and Windows. So thank you again, everybody. I see there are still some people on GoToWebinar panel, so I'm going to close the GoToWebinar too. If you miss the beginning of the webinar, you can use the same link to replay it again.
Yeah. We hope that you like this quick presentation, this quick introduction of Twinmotion 2019, and see you for the next one.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.